Welcome back to MEDLAB TV, where you find us in the networking lounge here, just sitting down, grabbing a drink with Dr. Rishi Pathak, who is Global Director for Healthcare and Life Sciences at Frost & Sullivan. Dr. Rishi, thank you for joining us here.
Thank you, David, for having me here today.
So, I want to talk about precision medicine, and particularly how it can scale and grow in this region when there are some challenges around healthcare infrastructure, regulatory challenges, genomic diversity and so on. How can precision medicine scale in this region with those dynamics?
I think that's a great question, and I think there's a lot that can be done in terms of scaling the genomic and precision medicine concept in the GCC part of the in the GCC. I think there's a need to collaborate between the government, the policymakers, the industry, and the academia. I think from a government perspective, there's a huge role that the government can play in terms of giving the infrastructure, adopting some of the digital health tools, whether it's telemedicine or mobile apps, and also sort of making sure that the underserved areas, they are putting a lot of infrastructure in terms of also integrating the rural in the genomics research. So the entire notion of diversity is very important to sort of scale the entire genomics in the region.
And let's lean into that for a moment. When we're talking about genomic data, and we're talking about data to feed AI that enables different parts of this part of the world to collaborate, we need to talk about regulation, about security, because this data is valuable, isn't it? It's valuable to create positive outcomes, but it could also be valuable to bad actors. And of course, it's valuable to the individual. So what strategies are in place to ensure that this valuable genomic data is able to be shared, is able to be used to drive adoption of better patient outcomes?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a great question. And I see that, the data privacy and data interoperability is still a big challenge in the GCC, because every other country in the GCC, whether it's United Arab Emirates or whether it's Qatar, they have their own genomic program. I think, the way we have to look into is looking into more so from a GCC standpoint. And I think the first thing that's very important is looking into the data standardization, the way this data is collected and stored at the national biobanks, So the data standardization is something which is very important, because a lot of this data is still in silos and fragmented. A lot of this data is coming from the genomic testing. A lot of this data is coming from the EHR, or it's coming from the claims data, or is it coming from the diagnostic and labs, right? And it's coming in different format. So the biggest challenge is in terms of data accessibility and data standardization.
The other thing here, of course, is data storage. And when we start talking about finding a home for this data and applying machine learning, artificial intelligence to derive some value from this data, you need an infrastructure to use. And when we start talking about, well, who's it going to be? The hyperscalers, how many of those have a presence in this region? And coming back to the regulation piece, are some of the countries here going to be happy having their data, the genomic data, this valuable data stored maybe in the United States, maybe in China, maybe somewhere else? There's still a few gaps there that need to be filled, I think.
No, that's a great question. And again, I see a huge role in terms of how some of the health tech companies or the cloud hyperscalers can sort of scale the entire genomic programs which is run in the GCC region. Because as you mentioned, right, a lot of this genomic data, they need a lot of computing power. They need to really drive the meaningful insight from this data. You have to have a robust AI tool which can actually do a lot of AI-based analysis on this genomic data. And that's where, NVIDIA, I love this company. I would like to cite an example of NVIDIA. They were recently in JPM, they were in CES 2025, and they recently announced, their missions to transform the $10 trillion USD healthcare and life sciences industry, using the AI and the computing power. And their recent announcement, right, with the likes of Illumina and IQVIA and Arc Institute and Mayo Clinic, it shows how, the transformative power they are putting into the precision medicine, right?
Yeah. It strikes me that there's a real opportunity. If these collaborations can work, if the different stakeholders can work together in this part of the world to make that happen, that there's an opportunity to set an example to the rest of the world of what can be done when regulation, partnerships all come together in the right way. Listen, actually, we're going to have to leave it there for now, but Thank you so much for joining me here for this little deep dive. I've really enjoyed it, and I hope that we get a chance to speak again perhaps next
Pleasure
time.
speaking to you and thanks for having me here today.